Hello, everyone. Hello, Samantha. I have the pleasure to have Samantha Veall with me. I invited her for a very special occasion and very important topic for everyone. Everyone wants to know about the coming financial changes for the world, at least the starting financial changes based on these very important celestial events, which started triggering already in 2020 and keep on bringing us towards financial change. Samantha is accountant for many, many years, but not this typical boring accountant. She's very special accountant, which is awakened, understands from astrology, and actually she's giving a very different perspective on the finances and the financial system for those that are awakened, actually, because we're talking also about the Great Awakening. So I'll be asking Samantha. Hello, Samantha.
Hi, Krasi. Such a pleasure.
I will just make a very quick overview, summary of what people already know, summary of these important celestial events that I just mentioned. And then, Samantha, I'll ask you to connect this with the financial situation of the world. So very briefly, ladies and gentlemen, just to tell you what is happening. You know that in the ancient sidereal astrology, by the way, Samantha is also interested in the very same ancient astrology. We know that for the last 2 years, we had very powerful eclipses on the most powerful financial axis of money, which was Taurus Scorpio, and also you know for the last 18 months the lunar nodes were in the very same axis in Taurus Scorpio. This talks about money and nothing else. In addition, we had, and this happened in 2020, 2021. Now this year, 2022, the eclipses of April, March, October, November will take place on totally different axes because the nodes changed positions, and this will be the important axis of Aries Libra, which is not anymore triggering so much the financial change, but it happened already. So we are on the way. So in addition, briefly to explain you also the powerful position of Saturn for the last 2 and now 1 more year in Capricorn, in sidereal Capricorn, also shows fundamental changes of structures, governments, rulership, powers, everything, just all structures in the world. And in addition, we have Uranus squaring all this from the beginning of the transit of Saturn 2020, and this is happening for 1 more year ahead. So then we had the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction, which is helping our awakening, and this is what I'll be asking you in a second, Samantha. So all this, including Saturn-Pluto conjunction, which is bringing this heavy, but maybe healthy in terms of awakening events. So all this leads to change, and this is what I want to ask you. Tell us, please, because you're accountant, but with with open mind, very spiritual, but also enlightened. I want to ask you, how do you see this change developing, and in what way your expertise can help people to make the right financial decisions for themselves in this very dynamic situation now?
Yes, yeah. Well, as you know, obviously there's been a lot going off behind the scenes during Pisces, a lot of placements in Pisces. There is certain countries that have already had test runs of this new financial system. And what we are going to see unfold is a central bank digital currency. They've been testing it in Africa. Canada's just had a digital currency introduced. So they're testing the waters of people's responses. And I don't think the feedback that they're getting is particularly positive. So how I see it unfolding is these eclipses in the nodal shifts, as you pointed out, what we're going to experience is a lot of chaos and trauma, because the response, because of our awakening, and we're seeing through things that we've not seen through before. It's been illuminated for us to look at and awaken to. It's almost like a movie playing out in front of us. We're being shown what isn't right for us, and obviously it's because of all the shifts and the upgraded energies that are coming in. And because of those powerful upgraded energies that are coming in to contribute to our awakening, we're going to see a lot more restriction. We're going to be transitioned into a very difficult phase for a number of months leading through the eclipses. And I'll touch on which eclipses in particular in a moment, because obviously we're awakening to things. So we're not going to take things as we have before. So obviously what we're going to see from these different shifts in power, government and structures is going to be a lot more restrictive to us. So the eclipse that I see specifically kicking things off, that we see, because obviously a lot of things have been happening hidden behind the scenes, will be the May eclipse on the 16th. There is the partial lunar, but I'm focusing on the moon. The moon is the people. So for me, I see things significantly shifting on the 16th eclipse. The nodes will have shifted into Aries. Obviously, the energy will tie into that as well. But obviously, as this week in particular, we've got a triangle between Mars, Venus, and the moon. So we're going to start seeing more of this restriction on our finances. In terms of events, we already have, I don't know if you've seen it yourself, Krasi, but in the media narrative, there's more being expressed about the SWIFT financial system being hacked by Russia. That is very much in the forefront. That is being shown to us. Just to reiterate, Russia's already been on a gold-backed standard system since July last year. And as you mentioned about this shift coming in from 2020, all through the pandemic and lockdown, they were working on central bank digital currencies. So what we see, we're just seeing things unfold. And from the first major eclipse on the 16th of May is when we will get to see what's been done behind the scenes. How I see it playing out is the SWIFT system will be crashed. It will be removed. And it's going to affect us, the people, very, very significantly. And from that point, potentially looking at the eclipse that then comes in, I think it's the 8th of November, we could well have to survive without a financial system from May to November. So that's a long time for us to not have a financial system. And this is why I've been speaking out more. I've kind of been hidden behind the scenes. Many people are aware of me, but I've not really put myself so much present, in the forefront like we're talking now, Krasi. And I just wanted to get people to be prepared. We're going to see a restriction on foods. We're already seeing the restriction on foods, which is, Venus, Taurus, as well as the financial. So it's not just going to be the financial system. It's then obviously going to trigger issues with the food side of things. So we really need to prepare in the sense of start growing our own foods. If we each start growing our own vegetables and the basics, because those that don't want to be a part of the system are going to have to learn to survive outside of it. And I wanted to speak out a bit more as well, because there's a lot surrounding cryptocurrency. And there's been quite a big illusion on the cryptocurrency. And given that we're about to be offered a solution, but obviously we're going to have a problem first. It's the create the problem, get a reaction, bring the solution. It's classic tactics from the government structure. And this is why I'm saying, we potentially from that middle of May are going to be without any access to our bank accounts. It's already been happening here and there, in certain other countries. And interestingly, I do look at what countries are ruled by what signs. And I've noticed obviously Israel, that they're potentially one that's been pushed along very quickly in terms of other aspects to do with the, what's happened this last 2 years. I'll be careful what I'm saying. So, but you know what I mean, what's been unfolding over this last 2 years. So it's good to look at those areas. And as I said, Africa, I think MasterCard announced that they're going to be changing SIM cards as well on our phones. So obviously that links in with this central bank digital currency that they're going to force upon us. But what I wanted to really highlight is we're going to be pushed into a state of desperation, because majority of us in this awakening know that it's not good for us. That our numbers are big in terms of those that see through what's happening. I know the mainstream portray a very different image. So we're gonna be shown what shouldn't be accepted anymore. It's kind of like monkey see, monkey do. So we're going to see what's been wrong with the whole system. So from May, I do see a significant event unfolding regarding the SWIFT. It will be portrayed as being cyber attacked. And obviously, what does that mean for us, the people? Well, we're not going to have access to bank accounts. Our bank cards aren't going to work. People have really stepped away from cash because of the pandemic. So cash reserves are important. But obviously, as this unfolds over the 7-month window, potentially, it'll extend beyond the need for cash, physical cash, because it will be resources, food, taking care of each other. I do see communities coming together, and I'm trying to tap into the energies that are coming in and promote and alleviate that fear, because there's a lot of fear that's going to be pushed. They want us in such a fear state that, energetically that brings us down. And obviously, we're more likely to accept things that we shouldn't accept. So we've really got to keep our high state of consciousness and remember that we all affect each other, energetically. It's a collective consciousness. So step out in your community wherever we are and be those little light warriors, and help bring awareness to the need for food and help each other with hey, the new currency may well be swapping eggs for flour. So have a reserve for those kind of things, but don't slip into the fear element. It is scary times, and we're all fearing it. I mean, we spoke briefly the other day, and it's hard not to fear all those big changes, but they have to change. And sometimes when we ask the universe for what we want, we don't see what has to crumble before getting to what we want, and we learn and grow from these difficult times. So although it's going to be big events, it's going to be very strong, it's going to be intense, we will grow together through that process. So by the time that maybe we're offered a central bank currency later this year, we will be hopefully in the collective consciousness of not accepting it, because we would have had a period of time of learning how to survive without it. And we don't really want to accept anything brought to us in chaos is not good for us. All these solutions that will potentially be offered. So that's something to be really mindful of, really see through what's being offered. And it'll be drip fed as well. It won't just, obviously we'll have the big event of the SWIFT system, but there'll be undertones. As I say, I've noticed these little events of like slipping in more surveillance, like camera surveillance, and that the banks are all distributing terms and conditions. All my clients this last couple of weeks are getting messages from the banks. They're all changing their terms and conditions. One of the things that I will bring to awareness, and obviously I don't want to give financial advice in terms of what people should do, but I want to highlight a couple of things that they can consider to do. And it's things that I've done myself. What obviously I've mentioned about the cash, and if the SWIFT financial system is to be removed, another way that we could be manipulated is that
saying the SWIFTs will be removed.
It will.
How are they? In what way they will be? How are they going to be replaced? By what?
So obviously that's what I was just going to lead on to. So they'll remove it, and we're going to have a period of time of strife and chaos, because obviously we will need to be put in that state of strife and chaos to accept what's on offer at the other end, because realistically we probably wouldn't accept it otherwise. And Krasi, if you look back at these Saturn, Jupiter, Pluto grand conjunctions over history, there's always been something changed financially. There's normally been a pandemic. It's cyclical, but this one is different. What we decide this time sets the stage for the next potentially 6,000 years. So it's a great time for us to be alive and a part of it. We must remember that. But in terms of the Swift, so if we imagine what would happen in the event of the Swift being removed, we have no access to money. Our financial, how can we buy resources, the basic essentials?
Wait, Samantha, I don't hear you. Now I hear you. Yes.
Yeah. And obviously, if it's been removed without us being prepared, we're not going to have anything to, transition to use to stand, within ourselves. So what will potentially happen when their solution is offered is that, well, we can give you your money back, but only in the new system. So that is going to be a real key point. So I'm of the mindset that I have very little of my savings or wealth in the financial system right now, because I see it as purchase. If we think of it as like purchasing power, I want to contribute to the change and the way that we rebuild things. So for me to do that, I need to not be in that position myself to then fight it. So we need to think about not having all of our resources in a bank system, because then we're going to be beholden to whatever it is that they're offering. I've personally invested in gold and silver. I do have some cash so that I can buy food and resources. And one of the other things, like I said, is that they're going to offer, well, we can give you your money back, but only in the new system. So the awakening is going to be, are we going to be willing to let go of the old, to say goodbye to that and welcome in the new? In terms of solution, as I say, it will be a digital currency. It will be blockchain based. Now, how I see it unfolding in November is that there will be restrictions on the existing crypto market. So again, it's numbers on a screen. It's only worth something if we can convert it into a fiat currency currently. So obviously, if we're going to see an introduction of a central bank digital currency, we're going to see a restriction in these other digital currencies, because they'll block the conversion. So that's where the Saturn element will come in. As you mentioned about Capricorn, I know tropical places the planets in Aquarius, but the true Aquarian age doesn't come till next year, as you quite rightly pointed out. So we're seeing more of that restriction. As I say, in terms of predicting what we do choose collectively, it still could go either way. There may well be some that will accept the new system, and we will have to survive outside of it. So there'll be two aspects, or through this awakening and tapping into that Jupiter, Neptune, and in the awakening energy.
Oh yeah.
We hopefully, as a collective, we will grow through that difficult phase and not accept what's on offer.
Yes, and because we are at the gates of the era of Aquarius, not in Aquarius yet, but Aquarius is here because we see what is happening and the powerful influence of Uranus, because Uranus is triggering the change with this square which is forming towards Saturn and all the planets. And now, in the beginning of April, we have Mars Saturn conjunction. So it's really going there. The thing is that I think that the society will really split in two. Those that will absolutely accept and give up to everything in order to keep their comfort zone. Sorry, I think I was quiet. And the others which will be really building their own system, and it will be communities, because Aquarius is all about a collective egregore consciousness. It is all about, it will be division. And I think even Rudolf Steiner somewhere said that it will be division. The societies will really divide.
And that's why I mentioned both potentialities, because things do shift. We have 3 timelines playing out at the moment, and they shift with our energies. They do shift with our energies. You know, the magnetic poles are shifting as well, and obviously that affects the energy of the astrology coming in. So I try not to put too much emphasis out on the said outcome, because I would much rather if we didn't accept it. But I show both because we do have a choice. But quite rightly, Krasi, like you say, we could end up with a slight division, and those that accept the enslavement system will go through this awakening much more difficult.
But does it mean that all of us which have all our work online, everything we do, our services, our work, if we give up on the new financial system, how the new system will support people like us who work online, who see clients online, who have their shops online, and all their communication with people? Because the good side of this is that you really meet people all over the world online.
Yes, yeah. So in terms of that, and I'm glad you mentioned it as well, because we will see an event where there will be a power outage. But remember, we're controlled and manipulated through the digital realm, you know, the digital aspects. So they're not going to not want to have that connection with us. So we'll only see an outage of internet. You know, there'll be power cuts as well. We're already seeing that with the rise in gas and electric prices, and you know, people are going to struggle. And I know in the United Kingdom, they've already said that they're not going to be purchasing certain resources from Russia. So obviously that is going to have an impact because we don't produce enough in our own country.
Of course, no one does.
Exactly. So, you know, it's going to force us into a situation where we have to think, how are we going to get through this? You know, we're going to have to become more resourceful. So those that are awake will be more innovative. They'll be more creative. And, you know, we'll see ideas coming in terms of technology. I mean, there's a lot of technology out there about self-renewable
And let me say this
electricity.
to people, because we didn't mention this when we introduced you, Samantha, that you are developing such alternative financial system. And I hope that there will be more people like you, indeed, to help us continue being in contact, in touch,
Yes.
keep our community together.
Yes.
Yes, so you are. Tell us 2 words about your new financial. What type of platform you're building? What is this about?
Well, there's many groups, and I mentioned it to you because we don't get to hear about this enough. But there's people all over the world that are looking at the law aspect. You know, as you know, certain social platforms like what we're on now are getting more and more restrictive. So there are people working on alternatives. One of the solutions that I was looking at was how we can trade and operate outside of that governmental structure. So we'll have internet access, but we're going to see a reduction in it, because obviously what we have to give awakening to and awareness to is that there's been so much emphasis on the digital side. And although, like you say, it opens us up to everybody in the world, we've lost that connection, that physical connection to the immediate community. So we will still incorporate the social, you know, that is going to be needed, but I see us going more on a local community basis. In the UK, for example, our government structure is top down, and we have things called counties. So one of the areas that I'm looking into is how we could structure the way that we trade and operate and do work and do industry
groups,
together.
More or less, right? Smaller groups.
It'll be more on a county basis, and we'll manage our own community funds. So one of the things that I'm really focusing on during this difficult time, you know, I'm getting my creativity in the areas of how can we become more self-sufficient on a smaller level. And that will happen. You know, it's already happening. One of the things I will highlight, though, Krasi, is there is a lot of narrative out there that's promoting the option of a small community, as I put it, in the woods, you know, these little pockets. I don't agree with that. I think that will keep us too separated and divided. So although I do see us changing things on a more community basis, I still think it'll be as a big collective. You know, what I might choose to influence in my area, I will share the knowledge with those all around the world, like yourself, and then you'll probably model that in your area, and it'll just be a ripple effect rather than it just being a small said community. And I've seen them since the beginning of the pandemic. I've seen certain groups, you know, set up. They have this plan to have a local plot of land where they all go and live, but it's a minority. You know, we need to move away from that segregation.
All this said, absolutely, I agree. This is very, very typical for the pre-era of Aquarius. Very. It's really, even if we don't look at all other aspects, eclipses, this is typical for the pre-era of Aquarius. But I have hope here, Samantha, to tell you honestly, because let's not forget that it is up to us, because we hold the system and it is up to our decision. They need us in order to fulfill that. They need us. The thing is that they may not manage to complete this plan because we have this very good, very benevolent transit of Jupiter starting now on the 18th of April. Jupiter is entering Pisces to stay there 1 year. So my hope, and not only that Pisces is the sign which Jupiter rules, obviously, but Pisces is very significant because the vernal equinox is giving, it is like, it emphasizes on Pisces. This sign is being emphasized because we're still in the era of Pisces at the gates of Aquarius. So Pisces is not just Pisces. This is our era, our contemporary era. So having Jupiter there for 1 year, starting from April 18th, count 1 year, April 2024, it's great hope, which is that he is on our side. If we look at the ancient mythological stories, God Marduk of Babylon was the one who was on. I know there would be different opinions historically, mythologically, on the role of Marduk, but he had also this very benevolent role to help the humans, the human race, the human DNA creation, and people can read the myth. The thing is that there is my hope that they may not manage to they will do here and there. They may not manage to do this for the entire planet. Here and there, certainly they will manage. They even do already in Canada, they do in Australia. They will manage here and there, but not everywhere because of this very benevolent position of Jupiter. This is one thing. And another, let's not forget, indeed, we have the very powerful and difficult and karmic Saturn-Pluto conjunction, which happened already, I think it was 2020, somewhere in the winter, in the December or somewhere.
December, it was the middle of December.
But then you had Jupiter-Saturn conjunction, the royal, which is about this global awakening. So I do think that, yes, very good that you made this description, and people should take this in mind. Certainly, I certainly do. But we also need to be a little bit more, not to form this as end result, because if we are awake, if we make our different choice, this will simply ruin their plans, right?
Yeah. And if we choose not to accept it, and this is why I highlighted the difficult period of 7 months, because what we're seeing is a desperation from the system.
Exactly.
So we're going to see so much control and restriction. You can't bring that level of darkness without us having opportunity for light. So during that intense period, it's given us the opportunity to bring light to the situation. You know, why is that? You know, it's showing us what we've been accepting for way too long. And I do feel energetically that as we transition through that phase, it's going to empower us to not want to agree to what's offered at the end of this year.
Exactly. This is very important point.
No,
Because the whole system is built on our backs. We carry it.
yeah. And I'm already seeing the energy shifting with people. And myself, I've tried to become more sociable, because again, you know, having the great influence with the technology and connecting to people all over, and even in Canada, just to touch on what you mentioned earlier, there are people standing up to it already. You know, I'm in communication with a good key group of individuals in Canada that, you know, that they are bringing awakening to people, and people are seeing it. And as they see more restriction unfold, they're seeing through what is being forced upon us. But awakenings aren't easy. We know this. They're not easy. I don't see the full Aquarian solution really playing out until late 23, early 24. So I think come 2024, we will know exactly how we want to operate, how we're going to operate. We've got to go through this difficult awakening process to watch and witness things breaking down. And as we navigate that, it will teach us, well, how do we want things to work? You know, how would we like things
Exactly.
to be different? Obviously, there is going to be challenges as well, and we will be a little consumed with how to do the basics. You know, we all take shopping, for example, for granted. You know, majority of us go to a supermarket and buy our foods. You know, so we're going to be reminded the importance of becoming more sovereign and self-reliant, and how can what I do help you and help others. But we have to go through those difficult challenges to see what it is that we need to be aware of and change. So it's a positive time, and I'm really trying to, you know, the emphasis on that aspect, because yes, we're going to see a lot of restriction unfold. The financials are really going to be restricted from May. I see us having to go without. And the little bit of awareness that I wanted to kind of bring to people is the more that we're prepared, we won't go through the awakening on our knees. We choose to stand up. We're choosing to stand and go through more strong than we could if we wasn't prepared. So I'm trying to bring those awarenesses, but again, we all have our individual spiritual awakening. So there will be some that will experience it more painfully, more difficult. Like you said, there may well be some that accept the system. They will witness potentially for that year, like you say, for majority of 2023, and they will witness the level of restriction and control. You know, so even if we aren't collectively the majority that don't accept it, those little areas of people that do accept it, they will have a harder lesson. You know, so yes. The system can't stop happening what is happening. They're just trying to collect some souls along the way with them, and that's how I see things.
Absolutely, yes, I agree with you. And knowledge is power. Then at least we know to make informed decisions. And we were already prepared since the beginning of 2020. But your advice is very, very valuable. How we will place your links so that people can contact you for advice, right?
Yes, yeah. I mean, as I say, Krasi, I've kind of been involved in communicating with lots and lots of people behind the scenes. So I've only just started putting content out there myself. I have a podcast, which is Divine Empowerment for Prosperity. And already, you know, I haven't gone too much into detail, purely because what we focus on is what we bring into our existence. So although I'm aware of many options that we can do in terms of how we trade, you know, I'm sure you've probably heard of private members associations. There's so many solutions, but I don't want to commit to any said particular solution, because we need to witness it unfolding. Because if we put our attention in a particular direction, that's where we will head. So
yes, program it this way. We give power to what yeah, what is prepared to happen. So hopefully it doesn't.
Yeah.
This is why, indeed, we just stay alert and we make our
Yeah.
choice.
Yeah, I mean, I am still running my own accountancy practice. I have reduced my client base purely because it's an area that I've done for so long, and obviously I've had an awakening through my career, but the skills that I've gained through that career, I've applied to looking at how we can change and exist in the new way. And you know, I see us empowering each other, so we support each other's business. You know, we'll probably do it on a bit more of a local basis. They'll be into, they'll still be into trading, but it'll just be a lot more mindful. And obviously, if you think about like the tax system as well, you know, there needs to be a massive overhaul with that side of things. So, you know, although I cater to clients that exist in the system still, I still share my knowledge and empowerment. And so they have a choice, you know, I don't force.
Yeah, it's all about the choice. The choices we make now will have impact on our minimum 20 years ahead or more.
Yeah. So I'm existing in both worlds, really. So if anybody, you know, that is awakened and they want to know a bit more about how they could exist, because we are still in this money system, aren't we? Until it's removed. You know, and we're all programmed to think that way. Like, how will we survive without money? You know, it's been passed down to us for generations. So that's why I'm emphasizing get into the creative energy, because it will help us navigate the hard times.
Absolutely.
You know, so and as I do have a YouTube channel, as I say, I think I've posted like 4 videos, but even at the beginning of you know, the pandemic, I was putting content out there and awareness to clients that cut back what your outgoings are in your bank accounts, you know, reduce what direct debit commitments you have, subscriptions, because again, you know, we need to think about that aspect. You know, will we be held accountable to pay for those things still? Obviously, from a legal stance, we can argue and prove that how can we pay for it when you've removed our money? The same with mortgages as well. I just want to touch on that side of thing, because again, there is a lot of law movements that are promoting solutions of wiping off mortgages. Everything will be reset with this financial transition. What we need to be empowered by is knowledge that when they potentially turn around and say to us, well, we now own your property, for example, there are solutions to make a stand against that. And I just want to give that reassurance to people. You know, don't accept what they're enforcing, because we all love our homes. We've all worked hard for our homes, you know, our properties, you know, it's a roof over our family's head. I think that will be one area that will trigger people into potentially accepting something. So I want you to just have a bit of knowledge that there are ways to prove that regardless of what's been reset, and if anybody that's got a mortgage on a property, you know, that there are legal ways of proving that the system was broken anyway. You know, the way that we was enslaved in those areas, you know, I want people to trust and know that there is solutions there ready. But rather than me committing to putting them out there, I want to see it unfold. You know, I don't want to influence people's decisions. I just want to give reassurance that whatever lands in front of us, there will be something to counteract it. You know, it's that dark and light, you know, and even ancestrally, and I'll just touch on this briefly because it's an area that people, you know, should take an interest, even if they choose to take an interest in. But where our ancestry truly comes from, you know, a lot of people are asking that question, like, who are we? Where did we come from? You know, what is our purpose? You know, there are many questions that people are asking. And there's even a lot more history and knowledge coming out about our ancestry and the links to natives and, you know, all the original, the way that we, you know, we expanded and evolved in terms of populations. There's something significant about that. And I've mentioned it because truly at heart, we are all natives. And there is a international treaty that protects native people. you know, and those treaties will be what will be tapped into to prove what we own, you know, where we stand our ground and occupy. You know, we can protect that. And, you know, as I say, I don't want to go too much into that side of things, because obviously we wanted to touch on what's unfolding now, but, you know, we're getting really connected to who we are and where we came from and how we evolved. And the more that we are true and solid in ourselves, and we hold the ground that we occupy, then, you know, then the new Aquarian age will just
exactly
grow.
And there is always balance. Somewhere I read that the universe does not calm until balance is not restored, and so balance will be restored, certainly. Not yet, but it will come.
We've just got a few lessons. We've got many lessons to learn, unfortunately.
And choices, the right choices to make. No, the right choices to make. Now it's time to make the right choice. The time started, this moment started already in beginning of the year 2020, when they served us red or blue pill to take, and some people made their own decision, others, well, you know what I mean. So it's all about making the right decision. But this is made when you're informed.
It's not easy. I mean, I've lost friendships. I've even had difficulties with my family because of a difference in, you know, awareness.
In the red or the blue pill.
Exactly. I've lost clients as well, but I knew I had to be true to myself, and that what we're going to see, those that have took those decisions, the collective are going to witness that being more true, so to speak. I'm trying to think how to put it, because I don't want to create that illusion that, you know, right or wrong, because
no,
it's not we're right or wrong. It's just that some of us are seeing it a bit sooner than others. But there are more and more people seeing it, and, you know, that potentially have sat on the fence through fear, through, you know, not understanding, or their own experiences not giving them the opportunity to see it. It's shifting all the time. There's more and more people seeing it every day, and it's beautiful to see. And I have my down days, you know. I want to give people that reassurance. Energies do take hold of us, but it's having awareness to it, feeling it, and asking, what is it that I'm not maybe dealing with or addressing myself? It's kind of a spiritual work and inner work on ourselves every day through the journey.
Yes. Oh, certainly.
And tap into these energies. Like you say, there are good energies behind these restrictions.
Oh, yes,
and,
yes.
You know, focus on those energies and bringing those into us, whilst, you know, the restrictions there because they're losing control. Remember that the desperation is such a high level, you know, and we're going to see more and more of it, but all it's doing is giving us the opportunity to, well, they depend on our point of attention, they depend on our empowerment. So, you know, that the more that we disempower what it is that they're doing, you know, exactly, that we transition. So I hope I've covered everything.
Thank you.
I am a little bit nervous.
I think this is very, very important, very informative, because when you are informed, without programming yourself for the worst, because certainly this is not the case, it's just a case to be awake and to make the right decision for yourself. We certainly, I think for me, this was very useful. So thank you so much, Samantha. Thank you so much.
And trust ourselves. We need to get back into the mindset of trusting ourselves. You know, the way that society's changed over the years is, you know, it's that codependency and security of a government, of systems, and, you know, the ease of the way that we operate our lives.
And focus on consumption, consuming.
Yeah.
This is important. This shift is very important to happen. This focus on necessarily because when they on purpose created this consumers society, they weakened the immune system of the whole society, and people cannot stand up for themselves anymore because they're used to do easy and comfortable.
It's like an abusive relationship. You know, it's give us those breadcrumbs.
Exactly.
And through those ways of treating us and the way that we've operated we're so consumed with everything that we've lost ourselves. So we have a real insecurity. So what we're witnessing now and what we're all going through is building that self-confidence, that self-awareness and trust in whatever is put in your path.
It's a chance.
You'll overcome, trust in yourself, trust in your own abilities to overcome whatever is unfolding and grow that energy rather than the energy that they want.
Exactly. Look at this as a chance. It's a great chance, an opportunity to live in these interesting times.
Yes, yeah. It's been a pleasure.
Pleasure. Thank you so much, Samantha. See you again, hopefully.
Yes, take care.